Hello and welcome to the Book Bunch. My name is Sam. It is so great to have you guys here for another video. Today we are going to be talking about the Anne of Green Gables box set. I have finally finished the whole series and I thought I would tell you guys about it because I feel like not many people know that it's actually like quite a long series. They think it's just like the one book or maybe the two books because there is a couple of movies here and there. And I feel like, yeah, people don't know that it's actually part of quite a large series. So we're going to talk about each book, go through them all. I'm going to tell you a bit about them. I'm going to try and keep spoilers to a minimum. But yeah, if you don't want any kind of spoilers at all, probably skip this one because I might let one or two slip here and there that are unintentional. So yes, we will get into that. So the first one is obviously Anne of Green Gables, which is the original, and it's still my favorite. I'm going to be honest. It's still my absolute favorite. So Anne of Green Gables is about this beautiful girl named Anne, and she is a fierce, confident redhead. She is an orphan and she gets adopted by this older brother and sister whose names are Matthew and Marilla, and they expected to receive a little boy to help work on their farm, and lo and behold there was a mistake and they ended up getting Anne instead. And it follows her grappling with the fact that she is a little bit unwanted, at least to start with. It also grapples with her trying to navigate different levels of etiquette and manners and all of that kind of thing that she's not very used to, because Marilla has a very kind of strict way of doing things. It's also about her navigating the difficulties of friendship and just like kid drama, I guess you would say. And she is trying her very best, but she's also a bit clumsy and a bit too free-spirited, I guess, for the world. And everyone loves her, but sometimes it takes a while to get used to her. And yes, it is a beautiful story. Absolutely love Anne of Green Gables. I recommend it for absolutely anybody, especially if you like wholesome farm style kind of stories, like, because they live in like almost like a prairie, I guess, in Prince Edward Island, and it's just beautiful hearing all about it. You can probably hear a very annoying sound, which is these bugs in the background, and I've tried my hardest not to film when there's any bugs, but they have come out at all times of the day now, and it's just becoming impossible. So sorry if there's a really annoying noise in the background. So then there is Anne of Avonlea, and this is about Anne when she is finished school. She's finished the first part of her studies, and she is spending a year teaching in one of the local schools in Avonlea, and she is trying to, I guess, navigate how best she can be a teacher with her ideals, because she doesn't believe in like really punishing kids very much. And a lot of the, like, back then it was very usual for them to like get the whip or whatever, and she doesn't believe in any of that. So she's trying to navigate how to get the kids to listen to her and be like good students with all of that, as well as the dramas between a teacher and parents, and how parents can be a bit difficult when it comes to their kids. And yeah, it's quite good. There is also a what would I say? Throughout a lot of these books, there's like a romance or a possible romance kind of happening. And that also shows up a little bit here. But yeah, that's what the second book is about. It's basically about her navigating her first year as being a teacher. Then there is Anne of the Island, And this one is about, she decides to go back to college, back to Redmond College. She's done her year of teaching and she wants to get her BA degree, and that will kind of open up the possibility of her like being principal or being a, like maybe eventually being a professor or something like that. She's also really enjoying being a writer at the moment, so she writes little like short stories and stuff. Um, and yeah, she is navigating, I'm going to say navigating a lot in this video, sorry, but it's true. She's navigating like big college life. She has to obviously live near or on campus, so she's moved away from Avonlea, and you only get to see Avonlea like during holidays when she goes to visit. She is also living with some of her friends, and they are living in this like share house kind of situation. And yeah, there's lots of little dramas and things that happen, bits of romance and stuff, and you're like, oh, who is she gonna pick, kind of thing. So yes, that's very exciting. So that was Anne of the Island. Then there is Anne of the Windy Poplars. So at the start of this book, she is actually engaged and she can't marry the person that she is engaged to yet. And there's going to be 3 years time before she's able to get married, because the person she is going to marry, I'm trying not to give spoilers, is studying their own degree and they have to finish that before they can get married. And so she gets a job not too far away, but still like not in her hometown. And she gets a job as the principal or like the secondary teacher, secondary school, I mean like high school teacher, and they're called principals, because it's a little bit different to what we've got now. But anyway, she gets a job at this like school, and there's a lot of tension because the main like big hotshot family in this town wanted one of their relatives to get the job and they didn't, and so now they have this prejudice against Anne, and she is trying her best to win them over, but it's a bit of a battle. And while she's living there, she lives at this place called the Windy Poplars, which is this beautiful little house at the end of a street with these really nice old ladies. And she lives like up in what she calls the tower, so it must be some kind of like attic or something, I would think, from the sounds of it. And yeah, she can kind of look out all over, and there's these beautiful poplar trees all around the house, and it's very windy there, and that's why it's called the Windy Poplars. And it's very picturesque, very nice. And yeah, it talks about her dramas over these 3 years that she's waiting to get married, of trying to befriend certain people or different fights or whatever that she has with people. There's also a bit of her doing unintentional matchmaking in there. Like there's one section where she, like on a whim, has to help organize someone else's wedding like in a couple of days, and there's like all of this stuff happening. But yes, it's very good. She also, in this one, because Anne has always had an issue with people who don't like her, she really wants to be liked, and so that's like really comes to a head in this book, and it's interesting to see how she grows and how people around her grow just by being in her presence. So that is Anne of Windy Poplars. Then there is Anne's House of Dreams, which was super beautiful. So this is to do with Anne's first couple of years of marriage, and her and her husband move to this like seaside house, and there's only a couple of houses around, and they live near the local lighthouse, and so they become friends with the lighthouse keeper, and also they try and become friends with the couple of neighbours that they do have. This one does have some tragedy in it. They kind of get more tragic from this point on, so be aware of that. There is a content warning for infant death in here. So just be aware of that, because it was a bit shocking to me. I guess I wasn't expecting something so heavy to be in an Anne book, but they do get more heavy as the time goes on. So this is Anne's House of Dreams, and she does end up also having a baby while she is there. Well, she actually has two. And yeah, it's all just about this first few years of happy marriage that she has, and trying to build this life, and her really enjoying her house of dreams. And it's just really beautiful, really wholesome, with that little bit of tragedy mixed in there as well. This one did get me kind of almost teary towards the end, because of the lighthouse keeper. He's such a lovable character and everything. So yes, that is Anne's House of Dreams. Then there is Anne of Ingleside, and this is kind of the last book that has Anne as kind of a main character. Although even in this, she's slowly fading into the background, and it becomes more about her family. So this is about her. They've moved from the House of Dreams because they've kind of outgrown it, because they're having so many kids. And she is about to have her sixth baby in this book. And she is enjoying motherhood in every moment and every aspect. And it's really beautiful seeing her as a mother, and how that affects her and her decisions and her happiness. She also does come to love this new house she has moved into, and she kind of makes it her own, especially the garden. She spends a lot of the time in the garden. And this follows also her kids and what they are getting up to, so you get a good taste of what each of her kids is kind of like, their personality, and little dramas, little friendships and stuff that they are having at the time as well. So that is Anne of Ingleside. Then there is Rainbow Valley, which this one, Anne is definitely in the background in this. She's definitely not the main character anymore, and instead her children are. And this, well, even in this one, her children aren't even the main characters. The main characters we swap to some of Anne's neighbours, who are the local pastor and his kids, and he is a widow. And his kids are a lot of fun, but they're also a little bit misguided and a little bit, I don't know if neglected is the word, but they are kind of left to their own devices, because their dad is a little bit absent since his wife passed away. He is also very busy with the church stuff, and so he doesn't give as much time to his kids as his kids need. And so his kids kind of fend for themselves a little bit in regards to trying to learn about life and about what is and isn't acceptable in their community. And the congregation is kind of appalled by how the kids are being raised. In our time and standards, it's not bad, but for them it was the end of the world to see kids with holes in their socks coming to church, or them singing too loudly in the yard or the local graveyard or whatever. There's all these little things that happen, and these kids are doing their very best to be good kids. They love their dad, and they become best friends with Anne's kids, and it's all about their little adventures and dramas and things like that. It's quite fun. I did enjoy Rainbow Valley. It did feel a lot more like Anne of Green Gables than any of the other books. Just obviously not with Anne, but with kids that are very similar to Anne. So that was also a lot of fun. And then finally there is Rilla of Ingleside, which follows the perspective of Rilla, who is Anne's youngest child, her youngest daughter. And this book is really heavy and emotional, because it is all about World War One. Because Rilla, she starts off as 14 or 15 at the beginning of the book, and she ends when she is 19. and throughout those like 4 years is when World War One happens. And it really talks about the struggle that the women and the people that didn't go and enlist had back home, with just like the general grief and like how do we fight for them while being at home, like what can we do as our part, and like the waiting of trying to find out if your family member has died or if they've gone missing or what has happened, and just hearing of all these horrible things happening in the world. And Rilla is very deeply affected by this, and so is the like Anne's whole family, because the sons go away to the army, and yeah, it's a very emotional time. I wouldn't recommend this one for kids, but all of the others are fine for kids, but I would wait till they're a bit older, like maybe 16 or so, before they get into this, just because the topics are a bit heavy, that's all. There's nothing inappropriate, it's just heavy stuff. But yes, and we also follow Rilla through this one as she tries to navigate her romances, and also she ends up adopting, or not really adopting, but like looking after a war baby. So she comes into possession of a child whose mother has died and the father has gone away to the war. And so she has the option of looking after this baby herself or sending it off to the orphanage. And she's not comfortable sending it off to the orphanage because it needs extra attention and care because it's a little bit sickly. But she doesn't like kids and babies. And so it's about her kind of becoming a nurturing person, and even like her just knowing that that's her duty. And so regardless of how she feels about it, she knows that it's the right thing to do, so she does it anyway, like that self-sacrifice and stuff like that. Yeah, it was really interesting. I really enjoyed all of them. I would definitely give the whole series 5 out of 5. I would probably give all of them a 5 out of 5. If I was being really nitpicky, like some of them would maybe be a 4.5 instead of a 5 out of 5. But they're all worth your time. So I would definitely pick them up. Sorry. Definitely pick them up. Definitely give them a read. They are rated for anyone over the age of 11 or 12. So yeah, you can give it to your kind of middle grade going into teens kind of age if you would like to. I know when I was maybe 14, I read the first book with my mum, and I absolutely loved it. So yes, that is the Anne of Green Gables box set series. I do recommend it. Definitely pick it up if you can. It is all clean, all Christian, because God was a very prominent thing back then, and the author is also a Christian. So there's a lot of that throughout the books. So yes, that is Anne of Green Gables. If you want a good happy read, pick them up. But yes, that's everything for today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!